All right. Welcome everyone to today's Lunch and Learn. I am Jeremy, part of the training team, and I'll be leading today's Lunch and Learn. So if we have any questions, I am happy to help. I don't believe we have any pre-submitted questions for the day, so if anyone has any questions, please post them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'd be happy to take a look and hopefully get some answers for any issues or thoughts or curiosities we may have. Okay, I see a question in the Q&A that says, I'm having trouble connecting my report to my dashboard. Um, I will give you both. It says anonymous, so I don't know which of you two asked the question, but I'll give you both the opportunity to speak if you'd like to speak up and kind of clarify, and then we can jump in and take a look.
Sure. I'll clarify. So I have a dashboard I'm creating, and it seems that whenever I add my report, I use the report viewer and I add it in, I don't actually see the data. So that's the issue I'm having right now. I'm also
Okay,
on version 8.
version 8. Okay. All I have at the moment just version 9. Well, if it looks like it might become something that's version dependent, we can try to switch over. But we'll just make a quick report. Let's make a quick dashboard. Okay, so you said you put a report viewer in here, right?
Yes, it was a report I created beforehand.
Right. So then if I pick some sample report, okay. And then I guess the first question is, were you expecting it to appear here, or have you added this like page to an actual dashboard yet?
Yeah, I was actually expecting it to kind of just appear there after I
Okay.
added it.
Yeah, so that's simple. Pretty simple answer then here. It actually won't. You'll see the report source, so it'll tell you what reports connected to the report viewer, but
Hmm.
initially it actually won't show up. If you click the preview button, you should see like your data populate. Um,
Oh, okay.
as well as like if you actually like once you attach this page to a folder to be your dashboard, you should see it there. But just on the simple like editing function, you won't actually see everything appear. The same applies pretty much for most things. Like
Hmm.
if I create a no, not sample, simple. If I create a simple tile, right? I'll see like the title of my simple tile and everything, but this is all I will see, no matter what this is configured to do. If it's configured to display like counts of data or anything like that in the designer, all I'm going to see is just that this is a simple tile and like, the title of it and stuff. But I won't actually see the information on it until I either preview it just to kind of get the basic view of it or attach this to a dashboard
Okay.
where then I should be able to see all the information after that.
In that same vein, how would I add a KPI to maybe the top of it that could represent what exists in that report? Like maybe how many records there are, for
Yeah,
instance.
sure. Yeah, the simple tile is actually one of the easy ways to do that.
Hmm.
And one of our common ways that we'll check that information. So when you create a simple tile, you drag it onto your screen. You have a flow that you can create that will populate data on the simple tile. So I don't have one yet, but if you've already created a specific flow that you want to go there, you could do that. But it's a
Well, I
special
mean,
type of
I want it
flow.
based off the report below it.
Yeah, yeah, I'll show you that. So you build that into this flow actually.
Hmm.
So it creates a tile source flow that for you. So it's a special flow type that you will need. But if you just create it from the simple tile, you'll notice that it has a create tile data step. This is the step that will like populate your tile with whatever data you gather. Um, and so then from there, you can just pull it from, you can pull it from anything, right? You can fetch entities if you have like a database or, something else like that. But we do actually have a step called run report um, that you can use. So you can use this in any flow, but in this particular case, if you want it to populate your tile, you can use the run report step. You pick the report that you want to run. So I created that quick little account-based report. So maybe I want to run that report and throw the data up there. And then you can also decide how you want the data to come out. I think just in a lot of cases, if you're just trying to pull directly from the report, you probably don't need most of these. You can just use data rows, because that'll just show all the data that's in the rows on your report. And then, but you can mess with this if you want to see what, if other return data will change things for you. But if I simply just want to pull the data from the report, it's going to output a list of dynamic data rows now called report. And so then on my create tile data step, you have on like the basic configuration, you have these 5 lines. So you can, on each of these lines, you can put data for whatever you want to, grab from previous things or constant data. So, like maybe I want to use this first line to just be like my like title of this, my count of accounts. And then my second line, I can use select from flow. I can pull from my report, which is the list of all my data rows. And then in this case, maybe I don't actually care about any fields. I just want to get the count of all of them. So now it'll give me the count of all the items in this report. And that should display on my tile data, on my simple tile. And then if you want to go in other things, maybe you actually care about the values that are on like a row or a column in your report, then you would pick on the column that refers to. When you use data rows, you'll see like fields 1 through 99, basically, and that's just saying like the number of columns. So like field 1 is column 1 in your report. Field 2 would be column 2 in your report. So if I wanted this to display, the first text value that's in my first row, I can do that. It's a little bit of playing around to get the specifics there, but that's all that is. So let's go back to my count. I grab my count. Now I'm running the report, getting the count of all the accounts on it, throwing that onto my tile. So then if I save that here, and I think preview works. Sometimes preview doesn't work, but this one it does. In this case, it does. And now you see the text that I put there, and then it grabs the count. So this is all the accounts here. And if I check my report, you can see I do have 10 items on my report. So there are 10 accounts here, and it grabs that. So run reports, one of the easier ways. Fetch entities is usually the next most popular way to grab data to put on your tiles up here.
Okay, that's cool. And now that you've connected it that way and you even pulled in the report as your data set, does that mean when I filter on like my report, for instance, in the dashboard has a filter on it? If I use that filter, does it change the KPI as well?
Say that one more time.
So at my bottom square, my report source,
Mhm.
it actually has a filter built into it. And I wanted to know if I filter it, will it change the KPI as well? Since it's
Um,
built off of that
if
data set.
if it's on the report and on your right on this, like we pulled from the report, so it will run the report as it is. Um, so yes, if you have a filter on that report, then this run report step will run that filtered report. So
I mean,
then
the
the
filter
data that's
happens.
appearing,
Sorry, I meant like the filter happens inside the dashboard, like during like a user's session, I guess. I like gave them the option to filter as they please.
you're saying like here, let me just make a quick folder. Actually put this on a dashboard. Okay, so you're saying like, are you talking about these filters, or are you saying something like if I personally filtered this out to only show the email addresses that have my name in them?
Sure, something like that. Yeah.
Uh, that doesn't, because this isn't necessarily, if like, at least the way I have it right now, it's pulling from the report, right, which is like this decisions element
Hmm.
itself, right, not necessarily what's on my dashboard. So this is like a temporary for the user session, not necessarily you know, that uh particular item. There may be, I'm not necessarily saying you can't build it
Hmm.
that way. I just, off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure what the step would be to run the correct report. It would have to be something else that's not report. Does not run report. There may be like other steps. I'm not 100% sure.
I think.
I can kind of, I mean, there's no one
I
else
think I
asking
asked this
questions at the
question.
moment, but
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, there's no one else really asking a ton of questions at the moment. I can definitely kind of explore a little bit while we either wait for more questions, or if you have another question, we can look at that as well.
I was gonna say I asked a similar question yesterday, I believe, and somebody was saying that you can do it, but the way they explained it, I didn't fully understand.
Okay.
Um, they were saying you had to connect it inside the dashboard, and like make it almost like a dependency, I believe. Like I didn't even see this view the other day, but he kind of went through it kind of quick. So
Okay. Let's see. Wonder if I have one thought I'm gonna check out. Wonder if this would actually do anything. Okay. I'm gonna just build a quick simple tile, and then if this works, I'll explain what I did. This is actually a project I've already built. Um, I'm just gonna make some adjustments to it. Let me try run report again, see if it changes anything or not. Okay. I don't know if that's it.
you're just using simple tile, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Need a page service. No, wait, that's not. I'm just gonna try this the basic way. I don't think this is necessarily gonna work, but we'll see.
Was it the behaviors on update on selection bus change
Sorry, say that again. You're talking about on this thing. I haven't
on
messed
the
with this
simple
yet,
title?
but
Oh
I
no,
was
like
going to.
oh no, do your thing.
Yeah, I am going to look at that in a second because I think that is what we need to do here. Pick the wrong pick report.
Hey, Alexander, this is Robert. I was in here yesterday. I just joined the session a little late. I was in another meeting. What is just so I can learn as well. I'd like to learn too. What is the ask here? What are we trying to do?
Hey,
I can
oh,
re-explain. It's
okay.
pretty easy. He's talking about um earlier before you jumped on, we created
Yeah.
just like a sample dashboard
Okay, cool.
and that has a report and then like a
Mm-hmm.
tile that's counting it. And he
Mm-hmm.
wants to know if this tile count can change if we filter the report,
Oh,
but
okay, cool.
filtering it live, not necessarily just like,
Yeah, I get it.
obviously if I filter the report on the actual report itself,
Mm-hmm.
obviously that would work.
Cool.
But talking about like if I filter it in the moment. Okay, report. Change this. Okay. There we go. Just gonna have that be the count. And then back on this simple tile, do you want this to update on selection bus change? And I think that's the name of my selection bus that I'm using here. And we'll find out in a second if that works or if that's even right. Okay, let's try this. Okay, there's my simple tile. It's got a count of 10. And if I change this, oops, no, it's not going to update. That's pulling just a report. So I do need to go a little further. Um, so just to explain this to you, Alexander, I actually have something that I built previously that's like it's an alternative to using this filter to filter out data in a report where making like a nicer looking or option of filtering with a flow run part above the report. So if I want to filter by text, you could filter by buttons or anything like that, then it'll automatically filter my account. But this uses a selection bus to kind of, pull send the data and pull from the data and everything like that so that I can actually grab the right things and repopulate and filter out this flow. But it looks like at least the way that I built it right now, the simple tile is just pulling the original report, not the report in the moment. Dashboard. Mm, events. Okay. My best guess is it's something to do if the way that I'm doing that I'm at least trying to do this might work. Um, my best guess is that I need to pull, like, you can't pull the base report, right? Because the base report is just going to have everything in it, as I kind of already demonstrated a little bit. I'm assuming that there's one of these other options for how I can get the report source, like using report context or report ID, might allow me to actually pull this report that we're looking at here better. That's my best guess that I have at the moment. I'm not having done this specific ask before. I would assume that it's something to do with that. Oh, VT, you have a question? You have a question or a response to this? Go right ahead. Sorry, I didn't notice if your hand was up for a while. You should be able to speak. Yeah, it says you're unmuted, but it doesn't look like your sound is coming through it. Yeah, sure.
I asked someone else too if there was maybe a quicker way. I mean, obviously your methodology is probably going to work at some point. But I went asked Jared and I said, what is why is it auto translating here at the bottom? Sorry. you could use send that filter out as a URL and then use get page variable in the simple tile flow to adjust.
That's I think what I was trying to remember to do.
You could use
Yeah.
get page variable and in the simple tile flow and then use that, but then you'll have to use a send refresh for current user to refresh it as well. So you can get the URL out of the report and then put it into that and then send a refresh and then go to send that to tile data. But obviously I'll let you work on, I just wanted to get some more eyes on it so we are all on the same page.
Yeah. All right, BT. I tried removing and adding it again, unmuting and muting you again. I don't know if that worked or not. Yeah. Okay. Well, it looks like, yeah, BT, it sounds like you're saying the same thing. Send the filter as data, and then in the tile, get that variable, and then fetch accounts by that filter criteria. Right. So you have to go a little bit further than what I was doing initially. But let's move that. So if I use get page variable, so basically what I had done, Alexander here, is I created this in this flow run part. I take whatever text someone types into that um, text box, which would be, what they're trying to look for an email address to contain. And then I take that and I set it with the into the selection bus, which I called EAC. And so the data of whatever they typed in there is under that particular item. If I had the like string of text EAC. And so if I type in for that, then I will go ahead and I can grab that from other places. So in this particular case, if I want to get the page variable and I want to pull that data, I give this the same exact name as the selection bus that I had set before. And then whatever the type is, in this case, it's string because someone's typing in a string of text. Then I can send that. Now this is just the actual like page variable itself, right? So right, and so for in this particular case, I have that uh the report with that like filter in it and everything. So all this is outputting is a string of text that is whatever someone typed into this like field on my thing. Um, but then it sends that filter out here, and on my report, I have a filter, which is for the email address field. So if I just go to this real quick and show, um, in my field filters, and I use the email address filter. And the filter that I wanted in this particular case is email address contains. So I added that filter, but then I gave it again the name that's exactly the same name here, and I'm getting values from other reports in this particular case. So that I want this report to kind of grab the information and everything like that from here. So then whatever someone types in, they send it, they send that value out. It's going to take that value and display, but that's what's displaying on my report here. So then the idea is if we can also pull that variable and then just filter the results of my report based on that variable, then I can do that.
Quick question about that
Yeah.
method. So if I have two people using it at once and they're both filtering for something, does that, mess with it? It seems like this is global and it would affect the actual initial, you know, report that they're looking at.
You can
It's
use send refresh based on current user.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like showing for like the user at the moment while they're looking at it. What the selection buses do is it's like sending data that's getting encoded in the URL. And so, and while they're looking at it, it's for the user. And then there's actual like if you're doing anything on a dashboard, you can actually refresh the dashboard for the current user. There's steps or dashboard management events. There we've got these things. So if anyone is doing any data, filters themselves aren't naturally going to change the thing for everyone. But basically, anytime you do make a change or something like that, you can actually have these folder change events. If the change is going to affect the folder tree on the left side, you can do folder tree events. If it's just about the reports, you got send refresh reports. So anything like that, but you can actually, there's specific versions of these steps. So you can have it, send folder change event will work for, an entire folder. We're talking about reports. Let's do report. Send refresh report, right? Or you can do send refresh report for user. So then you can actually have it based on like the current user or someone that's doing something. For like folders and other things like that, you actually have user sessions. So, it's only for that current user or the current user session, right? And so then there's multiple ways that you can actually affect how these changes affect people so that it doesn't affect globally. It only affects certain things. So then after they go through and, make a change or change their filter or make an adjustment to the data there, you can send a folder or change event either for every time for just the current user. That way another user somewhere else isn't affected by it. Certain groups or anything like that. There's a few different ways that you can kind of configure it so that it doesn't have to happen globally.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then yeah, like after this, it kind of depends on what you want, but like in this, like I think mine is simple enough that you could actually just kind of filter something, where I can take, you know, if I'm just like simply getting the count, and again, this is like pretty small and easy to do, but I'm getting the page variable that has whatever some user typed in, whatever that value is. Then I take my report and I can take the data from my report and filter them with like a rule collection filter, for example, or, some like one of various like filtering options if I want. It's like one kind of simplistic way to do it here. I can just, take the report data from all my fields and take the counts, or sorry, report data from that like everything on this field from here, and I can throw that into the report. Have a rule that checks to see if the data that it's pulling from is contains, and then I should be able to pull my page data. So I can say, hey, does the entity from here contain the page data that I got from my get page data from the selection bus? And then that'll output like the results there. So then I can take my count from that number. Selection filter count. So, you know, I can like manually filter it kind of like this. You might be able to also, you know, send your report directly into a selection bus. That might take a little bit of kind of configuring or playing around with things to kind of test that out. You know, off the top of my head, you know, you'd want to be careful about that. I'm not 100% sure if I fully set this up correctly. I don't think I did. I might be missing something, but there's a few ways you can do it after this for sure. The more you practice, the more you'll kind of get used to it. I'd have to debug this to figure out why it didn't work right away. Does that kind of at least give you something to work with in your initial?
Yeah, finally I know where to poke around now.
Yeah. Looks like I didn't. Maybe I didn't grab the data right. It doesn't look like it output anything. Filter didn't quite work right, but yeah, something like that. That'll give you at least some direction. You know, it's really utilizing the various places that you can send data from a selection bus. You know, send it into the you know, URL and get that data, and then use it somewhere else.
Also, who
So
was
that's two places.
the trainer from yesterday?
That
was
Robert.
me. I mean, I'm
Okay.
still in here. Yeah.
Okay. Because I swore that you, or maybe I misrepresented, maybe I asked the question wrong. You said that it was easy to basically get dynamic tiles and stuff like that based off the current reports filtering within the dashboard.
Yeah, it might have just been it certainly was a confusion on my end of absorption of it. I was kind of the place we built from yesterday was filtering one report off of another. I didn't know that we were parsing through tile data. It was just one of those things I just at the end of the lunch and learn I was confused about the ask. But like what we were working on yesterday was kind of like for Jeremy's context, I was showing the kind of like the validations on I9 where you get one report to populate another report by using a send data change through the filtering. But we weren't on the tiles just at that point. I just was confused about the ask. So apologies on that.
So it's different then? Like
So
the concept is the same. Like the general concept is very similar, right? Where in both cases, in what you were talking about yesterday and what we just talked about today, you know, you're using your report like, oh, that's the page. I can't read. There's my report. You're using your report and you're setting like you're setting the selection buses to be able to like pull that data or send that data out, right? And so in yesterday's case, you used you know, a data field on one report to send data as a
yeah.
filter change source with a specific name. That's basically how you take the data from this column and send it to encode it into the URL. So then a different report could pull from it. In this case, in my particular example, I sent the data in a different way. So I sent the data out by taking the output of whatever someone types in this and then sends it. And then the report is then picking up that data from the URL to then repopulate the data here. So they're using the same concept of one thing sends the data to the URL, the other one is pulling that data. And so then, you know, your tiles will want to do the same kind of thing. You have something that's sending the data, in that case, in your case, it might be, the data that's on your, report here. You may even be able to do, it might just work if, you have, um, the example from before where if I take a data field and I have send data as a filter change source, you can try that, set that up, give it a unique name that you want to put here. And then that's how you're sending the data out. And then on your dashboard, your simple tile is where you use get page data to then pull that data to grab the information from it. So
Okay.
either way, it's always like there's a step somewhere that sends the data into the selection bus, and then another place that you're going to pull the data from the selection bus.
So both should work for my use case, right? Like both ways of doing it.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like you should be able to should have no problem combining them. Just may take a little bit of testing and using the global debugger to make sure that it's actually pulling what you want.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and it worded it right, but yeah, it's just you send what you send on one, you send from one place, you make sure you use a named variable, like I think he was using EUC, and then you receive on that same named variable somewhere else. Uh, when we were talking about, I thought we were talking about one report populating another report. But if you're doing tile change, like he's running it through a URL, so he's sending that data out as a URL and then receiving it as a URL. But it's going to be, the paradigm is still the same, that from one report you send that value out to a named variable, like where you can name it apples, oranges, whatever you want, and then you receive it on the other end using that same named variable, and it should populate the filters. It's just linking it up, just multiple ways to kind of link it up. It's kind of like on an Excel spreadsheet. If you wanted one cell to affect another cell, there's a number of ways you could do it. You could put a formula in the first cell that sends it out to the second cell, or you can put a formula in the second cell that receives from the first cell, or you can use a third. Like it's the concept of sending and receiving is the name of the game, and it's through that send data source. How's it worded, Jeremy? Send data as a
Send
source.
data as a filter change
Send data
source.
as a filter change source. But it's the concept of sending it out. You name the variable, and then you receive it using that same name variable somewhere else.
Yeah, so if I said the send filter change source, give it a name, now it's going to send the data from this field here into my URL, basically. So then it can be used. And if I like open up that dashboard, you can actually see right at the top.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that's
open
what
up my
I said.
dashboard, you see right at the top EAC, which is the selection bus name that I gave it, equals, and now this is the data that it grabbed, right? So it grabbed, in this particular case, it just grabbed that first value from my report. In other cases, you could have it grab from other things, or grab different values or whatever. But that's the way
You're
I
controlling this
just
from within the dashboard, what's shown in accounts.
uh in this particular case, this is just static because I just quickly showed it. But yes, like in the way that I had built this previously, everything was fully controlled on the dashboard. So changing this text field changes what appears on the report and everything like that. And it adjusts things, and the simple
Okay,
tile counts and all that stuff too.
cool.
Jeremy, do you still have a copy of the working one?
I can just delete the thing that I just changed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it might help you, and if you're on 9, we could just, if that's
He's on version 8.
he's on version 8. Okay.
Yeah.
I could probably build, if you don't, Alex, or Alexander, I can maybe find some time today to probably build something out and send you a quick one that has some functionality, and you can kind of tinker in the engine to see how things might work.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, man. I'll see if I can run that. I'll just get one report to populate another report, and then I'll get a tile to kind of react to it too. And then you can kind of just tinker underneath the engine and see if you can reverse engineer it. It
Okay.
might not be till
No.
the end of the day or maybe early tomorrow, just because it's already 1 o'clock and I got a list of tasks in front of me. But I can almost certainly get it done for you.
Okay. Now, just to make sure that we're on the same page, I just
Sure.
wanted the filtering, like for instance, on accounts,
Mm-hmm.
I have actually built out a filter, a date filter specifically
Okay.
at the very top of it, and my users should be able to go back and see. I don't know. They should be able to define how far back they like to see, and I would just like the simple tile to display the number at the top after they filter within the dashboard.
Cool, man. I'll see if I can
Okay.
rig that up for you. That's a cool ask. That'll be fun to kind of play with.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No problem, man.
All right. Looks like you also asked how many developers work on decisions. Are you talking about like internally for like updates and decisions and things like
Yeah,
that?
like how many C# developers are just around developing?
Oh, that's a
If
good question.
I had to guess, 30. That's
Wow,
a guess
that's a
though. That's a
that's a
guess.
large team.
Well, we have like
I think it's significantly smaller than that.
oh, okay.
The
Well, I was
team
thinking
that
there's like
directly,
10 in the US. There's like 10 back there basically. And then I figured there may be another 10 in IST. That was my thought, but
yeah, I don't think it's quite that big, but yeah, there's definitely still a good amount because they that are kind of working and building and creating all of our future updates and things. But I'd say it's definitely closer to the 15 to 20 range. Just guessing.
yeah, and also like it depends on how you define developer too, because if you zoom that out, like maybe not people that are working in C sharp, but the people that work on development of the project, it's a much higher number, you know. Um, it really
Yeah,
depends
definitely.
when you rope in all like the administrative side and the project managers and all that stuff. And
Our professional development team
yeah, exactly.
that do a ton of developing in decisions, but that's like building in decisions, not building stuff for decisions as an application. But anyway, all right.
Yeah, I was just curious because I mean the tool is so large, and I mean 2,000 steps, tons of different functionality. I mean, I just imagine it was probably a large undertaking to make.
Yeah,
And ship's been sailing for like 10 years. It's you know, so we've had time to put in the steps because we've been like the company's been going for I think almost 10 years at this point. Depends on how you define when decision started, but I think it's almost 10 years.
yeah. Quite a bit going on there for sure. All right. Well, we don't really have anyone else sitting in here, so unless you have any other questions for us, Alexander.
Oh, it's just me. Okay.
Yeah.
No, not particularly.
Okay, great. Then we will go ahead and end it for today. Um, if anyone else watching this YouTube video back has any questions, please feel free to reach out. Join the next Lunch and Learn starting up next week. We'll have the specific schedule for who'll be leading next week send out. Also, don't forget to check out our solutions marketplace and the decision support YouTube channel for other things, as well as the recordings from this week's Lunch and Learns. Thank you for those of you that attended this week and today, and we will hopefully see you all next week.